All right, welcome back to World History 2. We're starting with Unit 2 and we're going to go to Unit 2A. So this class starts from 1500 to the present day, okay? So right at Christopher Columbus with 1492 and it goes throughout to 9/11 and modern terrorism. So we are going to go into locating major states and empires. So we got to know who our key players are. Most of these empires are a review if you've had geography class before. These are key empires and they're countries or empires that you should know throughout life. It's great to know general knowledge, to know what someone's talking about. They're great for college review. If you're taking college history classes, these empires will be brought up immensely. Um, it even help you in Jeopardy if you're into that. So let's go over some empires. Let's talk about them. Let's talk about their ideas. Let's talk about where they are, and why they're going to be a key player. So this is just a little geography review, and we have about 10. First off, we should be familiar. In 1492, of course, we don't have our United States, which we are located. But who's the first group or the group that settled the 13 colonies? Over here, we have the English. Sorry if that's small, but this is the best way to visualize it without a smart board and being face to face. We have the English over in the English or the English Isles, okay? So you will see this as different names throughout history. You have England. It eventually unifies with Wales and it becomes Britain. Eventually, you're going to have Scotland and Ireland. It's going to be the United Kingdom or the UK. All of which is fine, long as you can answer and tell me that that's England, the British Isles. That is okay. There's many different names just depending on what time period you're talking about this group, okay? And it's an island. Obviously, the English, what language do they speak? They speak English. Of course, they are Christians. When we start class, they're going to be Catholics. But by the end of class, or a few weeks into class, next unit, we're going to move them to be Protestant Christians. So they're going to move away from the Catholic Church, but we're not quite there yet. We're getting ready to take off with the Renaissance. So our next key player, which borders right beside it, we'll visualize it in different colors as we go. It maybe looks like a little, like it's waving to you there a little bit. It's just 40 miles across the English Channel. Very big rivals with England. That is going to be France. The French are going to settle in Canada when we talk about the colonies, since we're getting ready to go into the New World. And they are going to be, of course, French speakers, and they are going to be Catholic Christians, lots of which will switch to Protestant Christianity. It becomes almost 50-50 when we get there. Both groups are not the first to take off and go to the New World, though. So let's see, our big groups that are going to take over. Let's look at, and when we take off in class, who sends Christopher Columbus on his voyage? That would be the mighty and the strong Spanish. If you look over here at the Iberian Peninsula, which consists of Portugal, which is the little country, and then the bigger country is Spain, it looks almost like a face. If I draw out a little dot here, there you go. You have an eye, and I know that's hard to see. But Spain is the hair and the head of that. Oops. That is not a good circle, but that is okay. It is the big part. And they're going to be the guys, even though Christopher Columbus is Italian, they're going to commission his voyage to the New World. And Christopher Columbus doesn't know he's going to the New World. We'll talk about very soon. He thinks he's going west and eventually is going to end up in the Indies to get spices. But he lands in the Dominican Republic. So we'll talk about that very soon. But that gets the Spanish even more wealthy than they would have with the spices. So it worked out great for the Spanish. All right, so the other one beside it is Portugal, which is not a player you have to know or where they're located for our Virginia standards, but you should know them. All right, you guys should know as I highlight this one. Think to yourself, what is the biggest one in the world currently? And even at this time, it looks a lot different at this time in class. We got to get to Peter the Great and Westernization before we have Russia as one country like it is today. At this point in history, you can mark it off very roughly. I would mark it about here. But it's going to be about this area here only. Peter the Great, Catherine the Great, Ivan the Terrible, all of which are going to push it east. And they're eventually going to take over these tribal areas of the Siberian areas. They speak Russia. Are they involved in colonization of the New World? Is there anywhere in the Western Hemisphere that speaks Russian? No, but they do eventually, later on, 1700s, they're going to go to Alaska, which we will buy as the United States for very cheap, pennies on the dollar. Let's go to an empire that's no longer here anymore in our world. So it starts right here, somewhat of the Balkans. We have Turkey is a big key factor. It misses Iran. It's going to go down into Saudi Arabia. It's not going to get all of it. It doesn't get all of Mecca and Medina, and it gets Northern Africa. When we talked about religions last unit, what religion was this area? That is Islam. And that is a Muslim empire or a caliph. That is the Ottoman Empire. They are going to be super influential, very rich, and they're going to get very notable in our history because they're very tolerable. They have toleration of other religions. They're going to do things, though, to try to convert people by making you pay a higher tax to live there if you're a Christian or a Jew, but you're not going to be beheaded for it, and it's very ahead of its time, okay? So that's where the Ottoman Empire is located. Right beside it, I said Iran. It's going to be right here, roughly. I've interlapped those a little bit. Iran is not going to be called Iran at this time. Also Muslim. One group is Sunni, one group is Shia, but this currently is known as Persia. They had fought the Romans and the Greeks for hundreds of years. So that group is still around. Okay, they never really leave. Modern day Iran is still kind of Persia. They've just changed their name during the Islamic revolutions. They even to the early 1900s through World War I, they were still seen as Persia. All right, let's go to a part of the world that you guys should have some familiarity with. One that is very big in geopolitics today. We're going to do it in this other purple. That is going to be China. And if you look at China on the map, how I remember China is it always looks like a chicken to me. Okay, you see here, you have its breast here, you have its wing back here, you have the top of its head, you have its beak, which is Korea. And another thing I remember with it is it's laid an egg right here, and that is Taiwan. And Taiwan and China do not get along. One's communist, one's capitalist. Ethnically, they're both Chinese. Same ideas on religion, but they disagree politically. It's where the Russian or the Chinese Revolution is going to take off. They're going to lose the nationalists, and they're going to flee to Taiwan. So they've laid that egg, and they still claim that egg. But that egg says that it's its own person. Taiwan is independent. This video may be demonetized in China for that statement. All right, let's go over to the rest of our other empires in Asia. So right here beside the dinosaur, I showed you guys the dinosaur last video, we have India. And specifically at this moment, it is Mughal India, which is more dominated in the southern area. They're very much a coastal or a maritime water traders. Also a Muslim group. So Ottomans, Persians, Mughals are Muslim. So think of those M's, Mughal and Muslim. And what other group do they sound like? And it's a group from World History 1, not World History 2. But it is going to be the Mongols. As the Mongols from Mongolia traveled and conquered, some stayed in India, and they got very influenced by Islam. Islam was very influential. They had more of spiritualism or animalism types religions. They come in and see that, and they really like Islam. So they're going to stay there. And we have Genghis Khan is the main leader of the Mongols throughout their peak empire. You're going to see a lot of the kings of the Mughal India going to have that last name Khan. Khan actually becomes like synonymous with the name king. Okay, so that's going to come from that. All right, let's talk about the Songhai Empire next. This is one that's not mentioned a lot throughout history. It's going to be more of this Western Africa area. Okay, and they are going to be also Muslim. Mansa Musa, one of the most rich men ever in history, is going to be from the Songhai or the Mali Empire. They're kind of synonymous with each other. He's going to be so rich as he travels his pilgrimage to Mecca. Remember, you must do that once in your life as a Muslim. He gives everyone gold so freely that there's a huge inflation spike. He does this just by giving and being very peaceful. What did they have the abundance of? They have an abundance of gold and salt. When we talk about trade routes, that's what comes from Africa. Today, you still have precious gems, you have salt, you have gold. And you guys might say, well, why is salt gold? And why is salt so valuable? There's no refrigeration for food, so you have to have a way to preserve it. If not, it's not going to last, and it's going to kill you. So salt saves lives back then. All right, let's head over to our Western Hemisphere. What's going on in the West? So here's our key Eastern players, or our old world players. Let's talk about the New World. Located over here in, let's see if I can find a color I haven't used yet. Let's use some brown, I guess. Over here in modern-day Mexico City, we have a group known as the Aztecs. And the Aztecs are going to be the main tribe of Mexico. Any other tribe that tries to fight them or go against them, they're going to be sacrificed. The Aztecs were very famous for capturing people in battle instead of killing them, including women and children, because they wanted to sacrifice them to their gods. They would rip hearts out, and they were a brutal group. And we're going to talk about what happens to them. But they kept pretty much all the tribes in line. But the tribes are eventually going to work together with the Spanish to overthrow and have them killed. So they are in modern day Mexico City. So even Mexico today hasn't moved from the capital of the Aztecs. Let's actually look at an image of the flag of Mexico. All right. So if you look at Mexico, you know, the green, white, and red, that is not what we're worried about. All right, let's look at this picture. On the picture here, you have a hawk, and it's eating a rattlesnake on top of a cactus. So their old prophecy was that they were a very nomadic tribe, meaning they traveled. They always were wanting to find where their home was going to be. All the other tribes had already took all the arable land, land that you could grow on, land that was good to live on. And an elder tells them a prophecy that they will know they found their home when they find a hawk eating a rattlesnake on top of a cactus. So they travel around for about 10 to 20 years. And as they search, one day they're going to end up in a swamp. And they're going to see a rattlesnake being eaten by a hawk on top of a cactus. So they use their prophecy and say, you know what, this doesn't look like good land, but we're going to go off our prophecy. And when they do this, they're going to end up in swampy land. What's the problem with swampy land at this point in history is it's not arable. You cannot really grow crops there easy. You cannot farm there easy. You know what breeds very often in swamps is going to be mosquitoes. The water's not clean to drink. So it is going to be filled with disease and problems. Not only that, let's look at Tenochtitlan. All right. Close enough on the spelling. If we look at Tenochtitlan, it's in the middle of a swampy lake, and they are one of the first empires to build something like this. When the Spanish arrived to take over, they are amazed by the city. They have plumbing. They have trash pickup. They keep the city spotless. It's definitely nothing like they would have seen in Europe where they weren't worried about germs or keeping things clean. And they have just 4 ways in and out of the city, and it was very defensible. The way the Spanish are going to get in is they're going to act as gods before they get in. And as they get in, then they're going to take the king. So it is going to be almost an impenetrable place to live. And then they eventually become the top tribe, and they are going to take over the rest. It turns out to be initially a terrible place to live, but they are going to make the most of it, okay? And I know you guys might struggle on where the natives are located. I think that's something that's more hard for the standards. These over here you've heard or seen. I know Persia is a little different, but the rest you should probably know. Maybe not the Songhai. All right, so let's do a little saying for this. Okay, we got Amy. Let's do Amy. Sadly for our class, the Mayans are no longer curriculum. They are located in central Mexico, but you don't have to know them for my test. You don't have to know them for the SOL. They're in the middle. Mayans middle, M&M. Okay, down here at the bottom, in modern day, I don't like that color. In modern day Peru, I'll find something here. All right, that'll work. In modern day Peru is going to be where the Inca live, and they're going to live in Machu Picchu. They're going to be in that very high altitude region. And the same thing for them. They're going to be taken over by the Spanish. All 3 groups are going to be killed by the Spanish as colonization takes place. But those are our key players as we go. At the year 1500, these are our countries. China's the richest country in the world. Spain's a close second, and everyone else kind of falls behind. Okay? So these are our groups, and we'll evaluate them as we go throughout our unit and as we go throughout the semester. Sadly, next unit, our Aztecs, Mayans, and Incas are going to be killed off. Our Songhai Empire is going to disappear, and everyone else is going to stay around for pretty much through the entire class. So I'm excited to go over those with you guys.